Welcome. So Tom from Workshop Nerdery mentioned that he was going to build some sort of a jig or an adaptation that he could use to sharpen his lathe chisels on his belt sander. I didn't have a belt sander. I tried a different approach, but I did work through a few things that might give some ideas to those of you who want to build some fixtures. I'll show you what I came up with to sharpen gouges on my bench grinder. Some things worked, some things didn't. And won't take too long, but I'll just go through and show you some approaches I used, so maybe you can get some ideas if you want to try to do it yourself. I started out basic bench grinder, and I had a fine stone. It's since broken, but I had one at the time, and I put a fine stone on it, and I took the tool rest here and I moved it out. This tool rest has a flat surface here. Okay, it really needs to be longer, but it's what I had. If I was doing it over, I think I would take and make something to replace this that had a straight bar about maybe 6 inches long centered on that wheel. But this is what I had. Okay, the important dimension you need to keep on this is 45 degrees. And what that means is that from wherever it's touching the tool rest to wherever it makes contact, you want to have a 45-degree angle between this and the face of the stone. Okay? So, the way that I did that is I came up with moving the tool wrench with the base set here. I came up with a ring that looks like this. Okay? You stick the tool in, you tighten it down. Whenever it makes contact with the stone at 45 degrees. See that right there? 45 degrees. This is flat against the face. There's your 45 degrees. You turn it on, which I'm not going to do because these have already been sharpened. You turn it on and you carefully turn it, keeping contact here and contact flat along there, and you grind that off at 45 degrees. The problem that I ran into is that because this is a round surface here and the hole is round, this moves easily. Not a lot, doesn't have to move much. It only has to move a couple of degrees, okay? And which means the tool is going to go sideways. That won't be 90 degrees any longer. Okay? So I made another modification where I changed the block entirely. This is an example, okay? And it has a V in it. Okay. It's set so that you can clamp it either from the top or the bottom, because I use this for a couple of other tools also, okay, where I need to have a flat surface here. Okay. But at any rate, so now with this clamped in there, this worked much better. And in fact, I used this tool to sharpen for, I don't know, a couple years or so, more than that. As you can see, it will maintain that no matter where you're at. Let me see if we can go the other side and you can see as long as you keep that contact there, okay, it will maintain that 45 degrees. It's a workable solution, but like I said, this having a round bar edge along here would have improved this a bunch, okay? because then you would just wrap around it. As it is here, it's not quite as handy. But I made it work, and it worked well. That's for sharpening. When it came to honing, I had to have an entirely different approach. Had a honing wheel over here, and it turns the wrong direction, okay? All it did was, and I can't reverse this, and so it just cut the wheel to pieces, okay? So I still did that by hand. I'll show you a simple thing I used that, even though it requires a lot of work, it actually made it so that I could be pretty precise in doing my polishing. Okay, honing the outside. If you have a fine enough grindstone, it may not be necessary to hone it. The one that I had, which I don't have anymore, was a very, very fine stone, and I didn't end up having to hone the outside. Got by with it okay that way, but just in case, this is a slipstone for a gouge. The inside of it is concave, the outside of it is convex. Okay, and it's a wet stone, so I store it in a plastic bag with water in it, and it sits on that edge, and you just hone it, keeping your 45 degrees. You get the knack for it after a while. Okay, there's a certain place that there's a certain feel that you get, and you just hold it in that attitude and work your way around. Okay. The real problem comes in, or the real challenge comes in on the inside edge here, because you have pulled up a wire edge or a burr when you sharpened it, and that has to go. If not, when you start to cut with it, you're going to bend that over and chip that edge, so you have to get rid of it. The best way I've found to do it, before I got my Tormek, of course, was to take, this doesn't fit. If you'll see, this radius on the outside here goes from a smaller radius to a larger radius. It's not constant. So if you try to take this on the inside, it's not going to touch that edge. See that? It's not going to touch it. You have to tilt it to touch it, and you don't want to do that. You want to parallel that in. So what I found instead is a different kind of slipstone. This is called a stone file slipstone, okay? And this matches the radius of that exact. So I can just pull it along the edge and pull that wire edge right off. Okay? This is exactly matched to this diameter here. I don't have one that matches the other diameter, but I'll show you that that's not a problem. Larger radius, smaller radius. Okay? For this, I just work my way around, okay, keeping it flat on the inside, keeping it straight up and down, and I work it until that wire edge is honed off. And this is a fairly coarse one, as I said. I have finer ones, but this one here worked great for deburring. Now, that cutting edge is sharp. Those are the fixes I had before Tormek. Don't know if you can adapt them or not, but I'd be interested in seeing if you've come up with better solutions.